I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Cultworthy. I'm your host, Antonio, and this is very exciting. Brand new guest to the show. I've been doing this almost 5 years now, and somehow I've missed this guy in the zeitgeist of cult and horror film, but I discovered him recently on Instagram, realized he's had a podcast for just as many, if not more years as I have, and so here we are to talk to Mr. Brad Hargis, Old Man Brad on Instagram, and Old Man Brad Podcast. Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. Yeah.
So what's the origin of that, man?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths. Like, I'm coming up on 9 years as podcasting. So it's like, now, but you know what? It finally did. We finally crossed paths. So I'm excited. The Old Man Brad came from my previous show, The Cinema Guys. My co-host, that's kind of what they used to call me. I was the older of the three, so they would just jokingly call me Old Man Brad. I've always had friends and always been even just slightly older, so they would just call me that. And when I started my own show, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call it Old Man Brad, just because it flows off the tongue and it just works.
Right. It's kind of like you're the Sting of the group, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got their name and you've got the nickname. I see. And also, I read in your writer notes that it is required that we wear cabbie hats because pretty much every video that I've watched of yours, stretching back into like the 2020s on YouTube, I'm like, this guy has a theme. He has his uniform, and who am I to not join in on the fun?
And we almost started. I had a different hat on. I'm like, oh wait, yeah. You were like, hey, you don't have the typical hat on. What are you doing? And I was like, hold on, I'll go change. But I don't even know how that started. I've always loved the cabbie hat. I have a few, and it's just like it was one of those. I'm just gonna put it on. I have other podcasters that are the same way. They're just like, I always know you'll have the hat on whenever I've recorded with them too. Like I guess it's just become my thing with everybody that I know.
I mean, for me, I am an 80s baby, 1981. So that means in my teenage years, I grew up through the ska and punk scene of the mid to late 90s. So this has been standard uniform for me since that time. I'm not wearing my Fred Perry shirt or my checkers right now, but that's for a different time, different place. But the cabbie hat is pretty much, I'm going to say 30% of my life is in the cabbie hat. So yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of where it really started for me too. I mean, I was born in mid 70s and grew up in those same time periods of those bands and, going to see Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and just having a blast. So.
And that is one, I think, style of music and just lifestyle and style choice that a lot of people just never get rid of. I've known country western dudes in their teens and stuff like that changed identities and lifestyles throughout their adult life. But my punk ska friends, we are still living the lifestyle 30 years later. And we may have been in the mosh pit in the 90s and the 2000s, and now we're like the old guys just like doing the bop in the back, but we still represent, and that's what's important.
Hey, you still got it. As long as you're enjoying life, man. That's really all that matters.
So this is really exciting because I sent you a list of episode topics ideas for you to choose from. And I've had this one on my list for so long and people never pick it. And I almost started like making it a mandatory thing. If you're a first time guest on the show, we have to do this category so I can get to know you. It's like a litmus test. It's almost like a calibration of, hey, can we vibe? And so the one that you picked, which I was so excited, is what's in your watch list. Everyone's got a Letterboxd account now. It's the absolute best social media app out there. It's just for movies, but I mean, movies are everything to me, so it may as well be the main social media app on my phone. But it's just a place for us to kind of connect, see what they're into, so what we watched, read people's reviews, bitch about them if we don't agree. It's fun for discourse and stuff like that. And so generally when I find a new person on social media like Instagram, I'll jump and see what their letterbox is and go through their watch list and be like, oh, that's great. That's great. So I was like, that's a topic. That's a podcast idea. That's a conversation. They can scour my watch list, which has got thousands of titles on it, and I'll scour theirs, and we will pick movies that we haven't seen and have a calibration conversation. And so that's what we're doing today. Excited?
Yes, absolutely excited. It was one of those when you sent me, show, themes, ideas and stuff. That was the first one that popped out because I love Letterboxd. I mean, you've seen mine. I watch a lot of film, especially bad movies on Tubi. So it's was one of those that it was like, I want to see what's on your watch list, and I was scrolling through, and I'm like, yes, I want to do this. I want to do this.
I mean, we got to give some appreciation to Tubi, not a sponsor yet. What an amazing app that is! Like,
oh my gosh,
Tubi, even Pluto TV is no slouch. Where if you are our generation of people that just spent hours in the video stores back in the day, just looking for the most obscure title, the title that was going to be like that diamond in the rough, not the John Hughes movie, not whatever big budget bullshit was out at the time. What was that cover art that you were looking for? What was that weird description on the background? I watched all the Andy Sidaris movies way too young just because of the buxom babes on the art boxes of these VHS tapes. And then when Tubi came around, I was like, oh, commercials, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, wait, they have Moontrap on Tubi. They've got all 3 Basket Case films on Tubi. I can't even find those on the regular streaming sites or the ones you have to pay to rent for. And all of a sudden, Tubi, and like I said, Pluto TV is kind of catching up, became like my lifeblood. And it was like a reimagining of the video store of like trying to find that most obscure title. But now I don't have to like spend my $2-3 for it and whatever on late fees. It's just there. And the commercials, well, hey, I'll go pee. I'll go grab another beer. Whatever. It's fine.
I'm the same way. I miss the video store. I miss just going and walking around looking at that box art because there's nothing as good as that box art. And Tubi's kind of given us that. Like, I'll scroll through Tubi and just look at the artwork, just flipping through, and their horror section is massive.
Again, there's got commercials, but they're no slouch either. They've also got tons of Italian and Swedish exploitation and erotica, which was never my bag. But then through the 5 years of podcasting, I've met people like, you know what? These movies are really exploitation. There's a lot of nudity, blah, 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 but the story's really good. I'm like, yeah, that's like saying you read Playboy for the articles. But then I go and watch some of them. I'm like, that might be like the best crime movie I've ever seen. Like in between extended lesbian erotica, that was a really good plot.
And same with Italian movies. I've recently, probably in the past year and a half, 2 years, gotten into like Spanish and Italian horror and film, and in some of those, back in the day I would be like, I don't know, this isn't for me. But now I have this new appreciation for it where I'm like, oh, what they were doing here, this was amazing.
Yeah.
And younger me would have been like, no, that's not my thing.
I mean, I've got all sorts of theories of it, and I've read a lot of books about it. I've talked to a lot of people about it, but really what it was a censorship. The European films not having to worry about the Hays Code or the MPAA and being able just to release films willy-nilly, especially it's Italy, Spain, and Sweden. Like, they were just like, hey, we can put out whatever we want. We are free-thinking people. We're going to show cannibalism. We're going to show disembowelments. You're going to think that people are really dying in these things.
Yeah, we're going to actually kill animals on screen.
We're going to kill animals on screen, right. Not that I endorse that.
No, not at all.
You got to give credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for this shit, then we wouldn't have the horror boom of the late 70s and early 80s that led to bigger and better things here in the States. Man, I got to ask you. So, like, what is the seminal moment of your horror journey? Like, what was a film if we're going to be talking about horror movies today, because you picked a horror and I picked like a sci-fi horror, we got to know like what is the origin story? Like what bit you that turned you into this horror fiend?
It's tough because there's so many like I remember from younger years that really stuck out. Like, you know, gateway semi-horror like Gremlins, going to see that when I was far too young in the theater. And you're just like, oh, you know, PG-13 came out after that because it scarred so many kids. And watching, you know, late at night, my parents had HBO, getting to see Nightmare on Elm Street as a young child, going, that scared the crap out of me. But I think the one that really, really kind of just set me on a path has to be The Thing. The first time I ever saw John Carpenter's The Thing, it blew me away. Because it was one of those, my dad was like, oh, you love horror movies? You should watch this one. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And I watch it and I'm like, oh, wow. Like the effects in this are pretty amazing. And it's pretty tense. The who's who could be the alien, who could not. And yeah, and from there it was like, I want to watch it all.
Yeah. It's psychological horror on top of body horror. Yeah. Which like that's a killer combination if done right. You know, for me, I was the only child. I was a latchkey kid. So I had the fortune of having parents that said, okay, HBO, Cinemax, TBS, TNT, these are your babysitters for like the 4 hours between the time you get home from school and we get home from work. I have a very solid memory. I may have repeated this before, but I'm going to say it again because I'm talking to Brad for the first time. Children of the Corn for me was the seminal moment for me. I had to have been 6 or 7. So the movie was like, 2-3 years old at this point. And I just remember like sitting on an afternoon home from school by myself, turning on the TV, and here is Linda Hamilton from The Terminator, which I loved. I'm like, oh, I love her. It's Sarah Connor. And then here we are, where like kids kill adults and he who walks behind the rose is going to get you. And I was locked in, and I didn't scare easy as a kid. I was intrigued by this. Mm-hmm. So I'd say a combination of Children of the Corn and then, of course, Michael Jackson's Thriller, which gave me a love for zombies. Those two things, I think, were the sealing moments for me. And then it was just like nonstop after that.
And then, I mean, you and I both grew up in the video store age. And then from there, you know, going to the video store and picking up the Full Moon movies off the shelf.
Dude, the band movies. Yes, absolutely.
I think that's really what kind of put me towards the B side of things, where I'm like, you know, I like some of the popular stuff, the stuff that everybody loves, but I love that the underground, the ones that people don't know too much about, where I'll mention, have you seen this? They're like, I've never even heard of it. I'm like, oh,
right. Because a lot of people who aren't as into horror as we are also don't understand the fact that like horror and comedy actually work really well together too. Yes. You know, so for me, I'd say that moment probably again, like 8 or 9 years old, USA Up All Night, seeing Chopping Mall for the first time.
Favorite show.
Dude,
never missed it. Never missed it.
I mean, I could do a USA Up All Night podcast on top of this one. You know, it's like there's so many great things about USA Up All Night, Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried, but Chopping Mall was the same thing too. I'm like, this is scary, but it's also funny, and there's boobs. Like, this is every young man's perfect movie, and I still am like a champion of that film. And that's when you get to like
the teen, you're just like
as a teen.
Hey.
And then as, you know, like a pretentious horror cinephile, you're like, oh, this is, I see Paul Bartel and Mary Warnoff there, and you're going to see them in other horror movies and other Roger Corman productions, right? Oh, there is Barbara Crampton. Like, here are some great people that you just kind of essentially, you consider like your horror family all throughout. And then they just stick with you. And I've had the fortune of being able to talk to some of them, either at conventions or on the podcast, and it's like a dream come true. Whatever this is we've discovered in technology as podcasters and influencers and streamers and stuff like that, it's really been something that I never thought I was going to be able to do and talk to people that I'm such a huge fan of.
Oh, yeah, no, same here. Like, getting to interview, and I do a lot of stuff with the Horror Hound convention here in Cincinnati, and just getting to meet some of these people and just actually talk to them for a bit. It's like, younger me, like, I grew up on these movies. I never thought in a million years that I would get to hang out with Heather Langenkamp one night, just shooting the shit with her. Like, I never could have dreamed that. Never.
Same. Like for me, it's Diane Franklin. I've had her on the show. I've got to meet her in person. She's going to be coming out here, and she loved the conversation because in her world, everyone always asks her about Last American Virgin or Better Off Dead. And I'm like, tell me about Amityville 2 and your film Summer Girl, where you're a psycho babysitter. And she was like, yes, no one ever talks to me about those movies. And it was just a great, great chat. So yeah, this is a fun thing that we've found. And I'm glad that we've been able to do it and then finally connect. All right, so now to the meat of this conversation. I took a good, 3 or 4 hours digging through your watch list on Letterboxd. I was like, what do I want? Now, here's the thing. No judgment here, but you have a lot of movies in there that I have zero interest in spending time on, especially for a podcast conversation. Not to say I'm not going to watch them eventually, but for an episode, I was like, I need something that's going to intrigue me. And I don't know, like Toolbox Babysitter Massacre 3 wasn't necessarily on the list, right?
But in my watch list, sometimes I'll come across a movie and I'm like, I'm going to just throw it on my watch list so I don't forget about it, which I eventually do forget about it until I get an email and say, hey, this is available streaming now.
Dude, I mean, I'm so stupid about these things. I have a watch list on IMDb that's ridiculously long, and I've been trying to get it shifted over to Letterboxd because I barely use IMDb anymore. But there's so many movies in that watch list that I'm slowly moving over. Yeah, because I'm a nerd. Obviously, I have a podcast. So the movie that I picked from your watch list, I was really excited about because it's been on mine for a long time, and I don't know why I never pulled the trigger, but I chose Phase 4, directed by Saul Bass. 1974 sci-fi animal horror movie that was way more existential than I thought it would be, and I can't wait to talk about that. What's the one you picked from mine?
The one I picked from yours, as I was scrolling, there was quite a few I came across going, okay, I do want to watch this. I do want to watch this because I've had some of the similar ones on mine. But I picked The Sect, directed by, now I'm going to say his name wrong, Michele Soavi. It's a hard name to say. But
you're saying it as well as I was going to say it.
But I love The Cemetery Man. Right. And the church I don't love the church, but it was enjoyable. And this has always been on my list and wanted to see that I'd never seen. So that's why I picked it. So.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this one either. And it was in my list for sure. And it's one of the few of his that I don't actually own because I hadn't seen it. And I think the main reason why is because I've talked to enough people who said, it's pretty good, but it's not as good as Cemetery Man. I'm like, how could anything be as good as Cemetery Man? And Stage Fright's a close second. Like, Stage Fright is no slouch either. That's a really, really, really good movie. The Church, we can talk about that when we get into the Sect, but I've got a lot of things I like about it, and I've got some things I don't like about it, especially when you think about like what it is and what it's supposed to be compared to the other things. But we can go ahead and start with the Sect right now. What I like to do is I like to give us a quick description of the film, and then we can dive right into it. So anyone who's listened to my show, here it comes. Cue dramatic music. The year is 1991, and director Michele Soavi brings us this stylish blend of supernatural horror and psychological thriller. The film follows Miriam, a young school teacher who becomes entangled with a mysterious cult after she accidentally injures an old man and brings him into her home. Strange events unfold, revealing the man's connection to a dark sect, seeking to bring about the birth of a demonic messiah. Drawing on themes of satanic worship, dream-like hallucinations, and good old-fashioned body horror, the Sect explores the thin boundary between reality and nightmares. The direction is infused with surreal imagery and atmospheric tension, contributing to a uniquely unsettling experience that echoes the stylistic flair of the writer, director, and producer Dario Argento. It carves its own identity with a bizarre plot twist and symbolic motifs. The Sect remains a lesser-known but intriguing entry in Italian horror cinema. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start right off the bat. Like, what were your thoughts of this film? Like, did it impress you or did it challenge you?
It was kind of a mix because I could see Dario Argento's kind of influence in this many times throughout the movie because he wrote it with him as well. And I don't know, it felt like he was trying to make Fulci's The Beyond, but make it just a little weirder if he could, I guess. Because there were so many times, because I love The Beyond, absolutely love The Beyond. And so many times I'm watching this, that's what popped in my head. It's like, he's just trying to do like The Beyond here. Like,
yeah,
what's going on? But adding like a cult, and you can see giallo influences, especially at the beginning, and then you get supernatural, you get creatures, there's bugs. I kind of thought it was funny that both of our films that we picked had bugs in them.
Bug
some
horror.
sort. But overall, when I got to the end, I was like, did I like it? I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know what I fully thought. I didn't hate it, but I don't know if how much I loved it.
I'm in the same boat as you, and like you took the words out of my mouth. Like this, some of the reviews I read said, like, "Oh, this just like feels like him trying to do an Argento film." I'm like, no, this is him trying to do a Fulci film. This is his version of Beyond. I mean, it feels like a Gates of Hell movie.
Yeah,
it literally has.
Mentioned it.
It literally has gates of hell, catacombs, deep wells, grottos, just like a Fulci film would. It's got bug and body horror. It's got a reanimated corpse straight out of the Beyond, which that was a cool scene. But yeah, that's what it felt like to me. It felt like him doing a Fulci movie. I loved the good parts of it. There was like a lot of good in this movie. The Pino Donaggio score is amazing. All of his scores are amazing. But again, it just kind of made it feel even more like a Fulci movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest problem I had with this is that there was just too much movie. Yes. It was like 2 hours and 6 minutes. It did not need to be. That's where Fulci had it kind of nailed with Beyond, because even though the current version of Beyond that we've all seen is the extended version, the correct version, it's still like a hair over 80 minutes. Like, it's a quick watch.
Oh yeah.
This was a little bit exhausting, and you spend so much time with the main character going through the same psychological horror over and over and over again. I would have rather seen like one really well done executed scene of that than 3 smaller ones. So I think it was the pacing that did it for me. That's a shame.
I agree with you on that one for sure, because there were many times, especially as you're getting into it, like I think if you would have tightened it up, maybe if it would have been 90 minutes, hour 40, maybe max, like cut a good 20, 25 minutes off of it, maybe it could have been a quicker pace to where I would have been like, oh, this is right up there with the Beyond. This is amazing. Yeah. But right now it's like, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel.
Well, and so that's an interesting thing that this director does, because I feel Stage Fright is very tight. Cemetery Man is perfectly paced. I think every moment in that movie is not a wasted moment, and it's got that great blend of comedy and horror and existentialism. And then The Church was supposed to be like a Demons movie. It was supposed to be Demons 3, essentially. And then it kind of went its own way, but you can tell it lives in the Demons universe.
Yeah.
But then it drifts off into its own thing, and that's my real hang up with The Church, is that it doesn't allow itself to share the same DNA that Demons 1 and 2 does. It kind of goes off into its own quest for meaning and existence, and that's what kind of drags it down. This doubles down on that 100%. And that's why I was like, there's so much good in this movie, but it just challenged me with the length and just the expectation that I have the patience to deal with Miriam in the house for a good 45 minutes of the movie.
Yes, because a lot of the scenes, like a lot of the stuff, it felt like it just repeated over and over again.
Yeah.
After she hits him with the car, brings him back, it's like, okay, we only need you to kind of repeat this whole thing maybe once. We don't need to do it again and then again. And then we're going to go off into the way, I think part of it too is the way it kind of jumps from that opening scene with the campers and the cultists coming, and then there's those people you just kind of forget about them, and then they show up an hour and 40 minutes in, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. And when he comes back, Damon, I think his name was, when he comes back, and it's like, I don't know. It was like a lot of cool pieces. It just didn't connect well enough.
I think, too, one of the funny things about the themes of these Italian horror films, I've kind of gathered the fact that maybe it is a remnant of back when Italy was a fascist society, but they hate hippies. Like, hippies just don't get the proper treatment in these movies. They are literally knife and demon fodder in these Italian horror films. And so when it opens up with essentially a hippie massacre, I was like, okay, this is an Italian movie, 100%. I get it. And there's no reason why that opening scene has to exist.
No, not at all.
He's just like, let's kill some hippies. Let's start the movie off that way. And then we'll do this trapped in the house singular horror film. So yeah, thematically, it definitely has some challenges. That's not to say, though, that the performances are good. Especially, God, Kelly Curtis. So I looked her up, and she had a lot of TV credits. She was Muffy in Trading Places, which I think is one of the funniest things about that movie, is that one scene where all the preppy assholes are barbershop quartetting, and Muffy says, and she stepped on the ball. It is like one of the most useless lines in any comedy movie. And the second I saw her face, I'm like, it's the chick from Trading Places. She stepped on the ball, girl. So that and this movie to me are like, okay, these are two movies I know Kelly Curtis from, which is a shame because she is so good in this movie.
She is. And I think that she plays that piece just, I really did have a hard time watching it, of not comparing it to The Beyond as it went along, because there were so many similarities that I was like, even her had very much similarities to being in The Beyond, where, I don't know, this almost could have been part of the universe, but not part of the universe if it was, just paced better. I think fans probably would have taken it and been like, this is the unofficial fourth Gates of Hell movie.
Film. Yeah, I agree 100%. And then Herbert Lom as Mobius. He's genuinely creepy. I thought he was fantastic. Again, he is a token character. He's kind of like that harbinger of evil that you see in all these films. You got one in The Beyond. He's kind of like the Elijah J. Cook character in Messiah of Evil or Rosemary's Baby. Like, he is the harbinger of something coming. And
there's something he knows that he does, because he's talking about his book and everything else is like,
right.
Okay, he knows some stuff. We'll find out, maybe.
Right. And like the chemistry between them and how much screen time they spend together between like the horror scenes. I've never seen this film. I didn't know what to expect. I almost thought it was going to turn into like a situation in that Malcolm McDowell film, The Caller, where it's essentially just a woman and him for an hour and a half having like these battle of wits, battle of conversations, and things are exposed. And it kind of does do that, but at the same time, it has all these really interesting, surrealistic nightmare scenes, because she gets, in my opinion, one of the coolest plot device drivers of this movie, is she gets a brain beetle.
That scene was great.
He puts a cursed beetle in her nose, and it burrows into her brain, and it's like a direct channel to whatever existential existence the SECT exists on. Mm-hmm. And she's seeing all of these weird visions of, bugs in her flesh, this pelican or a stork that kind of is like a prominent figure in the movie, the things that are going to come, the motherhood aspect of it. I thought all that was really fascinating, and I think that was probably my favorite part of the movie.
I 100% agree with you. It was, yes. I think if they would have explored that more instead of some of the other pieces that we got of, that beginning scene, you could just axe that altogether. You could probably take that Damon character completely out, and it wouldn't have, and the bikers, and it wouldn't have made a difference.
They literally played zero part of the movie.
Yeah, they didn't need to be in there, because you had all the other characters that were part of this, the SECT pieced around, where, the bikers were unneeded at all.
Was the SECT even needed? Because here's the thing. For a film called The SECT, there was very little SECT in the film.
Maybe the SECT meant the insect? I don't know.
I like that. It's a translation error, right? It's lost in translation. It does have several other titles. The other one is The Devil's Child, which I think makes a lot more sense than The SECT.
And I actually think it's probably... Yes.
dude, it looks like it'd be a better poster too, you know? When you see something called the SECT, I mean, maybe it was trying to go for like a Suspiria thing, right? Maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. But the Devil's Child even matches the poster better. And I was like, if I was walking down the street in New York City and I saw that in a theater, I'd walk right in. The SECT, I don't know, you know? So
yeah, the Devil's Child, you could have played off of an Omen type of thing. Of like,
Rosemary's Baby thing. Yeah, there's lots of demon children movies that you could have definitely played off of. I think the other thing too is that when the film really hits its stride in those surreal moments, it disappoints you when it goes back to the world that we're existing in with these two. There's a lot of cool little plot drivers. There's a lot of cool little MacGuffins in the movie. But one of my biggest complaints about any film, not just horror movies, and Italian horror does like to do this, they throw a lot of red herrings that don't have any follow through, right? It never comes back to it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's just their style of filmmaking, and if you live in that country and you're used to that kind of storytelling, it doesn't bother you. But I think we grew up with like paranoia thrillers. We grew up with Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. So when we see a red herring in a film, we're expecting it to come back in some way, and none of them do in this. And that was a big issue for me too. It's like, you're hurting the way my brain is programmed, because nothing that you're throwing at me means anything.
Yeah, you're bringing in all these characters and other situations, and you're like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. So I didn't need to put that in a compartment somewhere.
There's a series of murders of women or murders of men by women that obviously are supposed to be connected by the SECT, but whatever that DNA is, maybe it was on the cutting room floor because it doesn't connect to it. So it just kind of seems like, oh, we need a kill scene here to keep the audience intrigued, and then we're going to go back to Miriam in the house. But it doesn't lead to anything, and that's the issue that I had with that for sure.
I did want the pelican, the bird, to kill more people. That's just me, but
right. I mean, that was, and it shows up a lot. And I hope it got screen credit. I didn't stay through the credits of this one. All right, so I mean, let's kind of cap this off before we start on phase 4. So like, I got a few wins. So wins for me. Gates of Hell motif, which we've already talked about. It definitely feels that way. There's no way that was not intentional, in my opinion. You know, it's
no,
like,
not coming out when it did.
When it did, when Fulci's a master of this Gates of Hell movies, and they're like, we got to throw a little Gates of Hell in there. I am a huge fan of the face smothering, face hugging cloths that they throw on these people that essentially asphyxiates them. It almost turns into a plaster of Parising. What a cool weapon. What a cool plot device.
And it looked good too.
It looked good. Doesn't really have anything to do with the movie other than the SECT uses it, but it was a cool thing to throw in there. I'm a sucker for a demon baby, man. Anytime you have a demon baby in a movie, I am in. Rosemary's Baby, you could even say like Possession kind of has like a demon baby future to it. But I definitely love the demon baby motif. And I love the fact that, and we're not going to spoil the movie, that there is, let's say, a sacrifice of a character where the movie actually kind of has a brighter ending than you would think a film like this would. I was very impressed by that. I was like, okay, so it's not like a Fulci movie where everyone's just, they are all just in the depths of hell or purgatory, right? there's a light at the end of the tunnel of this one. I kind of like that. Yeah. And then, of course, my last win was Brain Beetle.
That scene was just a good practical scene. I mean, that was Fulci poking someone's eye out. Instead, they're like, we'll do a bug up the nose. How about that?
I mean, it was a prosthetic face, but I bought it.
yeah, it worked. It worked.
Absolutely. What are some of your wins on this one?
A lot of the same of yours. Like there's pieces of this movie I love. Like I love the beetle. I loved when the baby came into the story. I wanted that to be just a tad more of it, right, to kind of, because the way something happens in it, I think a little bit more with it might have been more impactful. Although I did, like you said, I like how it was more of a light, a happy ending, not fully happy ending, but it wasn't
happier than most films
gloom.
Like this.
Yes.
I think Demon Baby should have been the start of Act 3. And that would have solved so many problems for me in this movie, you know?
It could have. Yeah, it could have. But there were pieces like the surreal stuff I loved. I love when the pelican shows up. I wanted more of what kind of, gets into this whole world of the sect, of what the vision she's seeing, the blue goo and the bird, the beetle, the everything else. Like, I wanted more of that, less bikers and killing hippies.
Killing hippies for the first 10 minutes, right?
But I think there's a really, really good movie in here. It's just, it does overstay its welcome by the end. You're just like, okay, come on, let's go.
It definitely does. Yeah, and here's the thing about this movie is that it intrigued me enough to sit all the way through it and really think about the things I liked about it. Unlike, I'm gonna say films like, The Beyond's just good altogether, but let's say Argento's Opera, films like that are a little bit longer in the tooth, but they definitely stimulate your brain where you want to go back and watch it again. You want to see if you can figure out more of the movie, if you can have more empathy with both the villains and the heroes, and see what he's really trying to say about it. I didn't get that with this one. I didn't really get the desire to go back and retool what things meant, because I think there was just so much of the stuff just to get screen time and just to get some needed thrills to stretch out the exposition that it didn't want me to go back and research it.
It did, but on the other hand, it is one that maybe on a second watch through, maybe I will look at things a little different, because I know way back in the 90s when I first saw The Beyond, I just blindly bought it on DVD just because I loved zombie. I was like, oh, I want to see this movie. And I didn't really like it. It took me another watch to kind of go, oh, okay, this is what is happening here, and loving it more. So maybe a rewatch could help it. I don't know. So I'm not going to say I won't watch it again. It might be a while. It's just, you gotta carve out 2 hours for this. I think if it was trimmed down, maybe it'd be just tighter.
Yeah. If it was 90 minutes, I would have watched it again immediately. Let's put it that way.
And I think it would have been paced a lot faster, and things I think would have happened quicker, because you cut out that beginning scene, you cut those guys completely out of the movie, and I think you can get the flow of the story kind of coming at you quicker.
100%. All right, so let's now jump on to the next one. So this is the one that I picked from your list. This is 1974's Phase 4. Cue dramatic music. The year is 1974, and graphic artist Saul Bass took a leap from title making and storyboarding to full-on filmmaking with the surreal and complex sci-fi horror film. The story centers on a pair of scientists investigating a strange phenomenon. Ants in the Arizona desert have developed collective intelligence and begun to systematically alter their environment and eventually develop human-like behavior. Unlike traditional creature features, this film adapts a slow, atmospheric pace using striking macro cinematography to depict the ants in unsettling, almost alien detail. Bass's visual style penetrates the film, creating an avant-garde, almost hypnotic experience. Though largely overlooked upon its release, Phase 4 has gained cult status for its unique tone and haunting imagery. A surreal original ending cut from the theatrical release but later rediscovered further showcases Bass's visionary experimental approach to storytelling. Now, this was the one that kind of rocked my world. I'm going to say right off the bat, this was it's going on my discoveries list for 2025. This is Antonio mode. This is the kind of movie I'm all about. Okay, right? It's esoteric, it's existential, it's smarter than its audience, and I'm totally fine with that because I have to work for it. But I love a movie that is so surreal that it almost makes you feel insignificant as a human. Kubrick was the master of it, Tarkovsky was a master of it, and this I put right up there with those. I can't believe I'd never seen this movie. And I watched it twice, and I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to buy it too. If it's shelf worthy, that means I like it. How about you?
Wow. That's a little different from the sect. And this one for me, like visually, I loved it. Like as a person who went to art school and is an artist, like I saw so much of his art eye throughout the movie of setting things up. Overall, I don't know if I liked it. Just the thing that really shut me off was the like it felt like an hour of screeching in the middle. I was like, this needs to go away. I cannot. I almost shut it off at that point and was like, I'll have to come to this later because it's playing with my head. I think that's the point.
It's the point.
Yeah. And it's like I can't. I had to turn the TV way down to where I could barely hear it and hope that it eventually stopped. But visually stunning. I loved that it was practically shot creature feature with actual creatures, not, I'm creating big giant ants to attack people.
Yeah, like animatronics and things like that. Then none of puppetry. Yes.
It was an interesting way to do this kind of surreal creature movie without adding all those type of effects to it.
I think the way that I could explain it, best is if you find yourself kind of like squinting and wriggling in your seat during the Stargate scene of 2001, then this movie isn't for you. If that scene penetrates your soul and you feel like you're getting sucked into the Stargate with Dave, then this movie is for you, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
I am so impressed by filmmakers that make a film become like a total experience for the senses, not just for the brain and not just for the ears, but you shudder, you squint, the chills go up your spine when that screeching happens. It's almost like what William Castle tried to do with all of his physical antics in theaters, like shocking the chair and running rats across the floor, blah, blah, blah. But it does it on like a subsonic level. And anytime I feel like immersed in a movie by using the practical tools that cinema does, sound and visuals, but somehow penetrating your soul with it, I'm bought in. I feel like you've done something special. And so it makes me forgive some of the duller moments. But even the duller moments I was like really, really kind of into. Because
even in the duller moments, you're sitting there thinking, okay, what is next and what is going, where are we going to go with these ants? Kind of like you're playing this ride with them of not knowing. They're just like we are, trying to figure it out, going, okay, this is interesting and new. How are we going to figure this out? What's our play here?
Right. And what I really liked about it too, this is a year before Jaws, and I feel like the dynamic of, let's say, Quint and Hooper in Jaws, right? You got the science guy, and then you got the guy who's like, I just kill sharks, right? There was something very similar to this dynamic between Michael Murphy and Nigel Davenport, where you've got like the science guy is like, hey, we can communicate with these ants that are being controlled by some kind of extraterrestrial presence using math. Math is the language of the universe. And then you've got Davenport's like, no, we can kill them all. Yeah. They're a hive mind. Like that dynamic just with two people. And then you have this third character, this female who is like the survivor of this farm that got taken out during their trying to extermination of the ants, who what she is she's like the canary in the coal mine, I think, of like, how close are these ants getting to mind control? How close are these ants coming to being able to break the human psyche? Are they communicating us via ESP? Are they communicating with us via pheromones? Like that episode of King of the Hill where Bobby gets possessed by the queen ant through pheromones.
Yeah.
I was like, did they kind of dupe that off of Phase 4? That's kind of cool. But yeah, like again, the science of it with the surrealism just really, really worked for me. And the fact that it is essentially a pod movie, you're essentially in one space and you're sciencing the shit out of it, much like The Martian. I just really, really dug what this was doing in 1974 before movies like Jaws or The Martian Or I'm going to even say, what's that one with Bruce Stern, Silent Running? Those eco horror, eco sci-fi movies of the late 70s to early 80s, this kind of predates them, and it just does it in such an intriguing way. And the art design too. So Saul Bass did all the Hitchcock stuff, dude. The stuff with like all of these monoliths and in that cut ending where they're running across like these ant-built pyramids in like this weird kind of montage of sound and imagery. It's otherworldly. And I just wish that they had the budget to put more of that in the movie, because I think that would have made it even more intriguing.
And the macro filmmaking that he did with the ants, like the one scene where it's like a silhouette and she comes down in front, I was like, for the time, it's one of those, like, I think if you watch that I watch it now and I was impressed with the scene, but watching it in 1974, you're just probably like, how did he pull this off without the technology of today? And I'm so surprised that this is his only feature film.
Well, it bombed.
Well, I know it bombed, but that he didn't.
It went over budget.
I'm gonna try again.
Obviously, he's a perfectionist, much like Hitchcock and Kubrick and Tarkovsky, where he took his time on this thing, and there's so much technical prowess to it. I can see
he's an artist.
He's an artist, right? I think the thing that's I think really stuck with me after this is that yes, it does fit into that kind of apocalyptic sci-fi horror, even though it doesn't play in the same fields of movies like, let's say, Logan's Run or Soylent Green, but it does definitely live in that era of the doom and gloom, humanity is doomed kind of thing, but it just does it on such a different artistic level.
And all those movies they all came out around this time, so it kind of fit with it all.
This and disaster movies, right? Like, if it wasn't a sci-fi humanity is doomed movie, it was, here's an earthquake, here's a plane crash, here's a towering inferno, your cruise liner is going to flip over in a tsunami, right?
We're afraid of disasters, animals, and what add whatever else in there.
Oh, I forgot about Day of the Animals with Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
Where he wrestles a bear at the end. Okay, so how about this? Did you not get a strong sense that James Cameron took a lot of this for Aliens in the sense of the hive mind mentality? Mm-hmm. Like,
I didn't even think about that until you just mentioned it. And now you mentioned it, I was like, you know what? Yes.
I really think that when he was writing Aliens and he took the idea of a singular xenomorph and put them into a hive collective and how they communicate and what they do with each other, this feels very similar. There's a scene where the ants cut the power, and the line that they literally say is, how could they cut the power? They're animals. I'm like, Hudson says that in Aliens. Yeah. This has a connection. It can't not.
I mean, there's even a scene where the queen alien is laying eggs and everything of like, reproducing. And it didn't even click to me to that. Now that you mentioned it, I'm like, oh my God.
I really think that the TV movie Gargoyles from like 76 and 77 and Phase 4 really have a strong DNA in James Cameron Aliens, right? Because in Gargoyles, there's all these big gargoyle egg pods that they burn because they have to get rid of the species. But in this one, it's the hive mentality. It's the workers. It's the queen. It really works for me. And the underestimation of this creature, like, these ants are super, super smart, right? They're not just mindless ants like we think they are. There is a motive behind it. So yeah, the more I think about this movie, I just absolutely really, really, really dug it. And I can't wait to dive into it more and share it with people. And again, art's subjective, right? Like, I know there's people that don't like this movie, but I know that I have some people in my circle that are going to be like, where was this movie all my life? I'm like, all right,
And I think for me, like I said, there was pieces like I loved the look, I loved story. I think it was that few minutes where it just like I said, it's
abrasive.
It's supposed to break your brain at this point, and it literally did, to where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
Right. Okay, so
mission accomplished. He did what he was trying to do, and I was like,
All right, so some wins for me on this movie. Number one, predating Jaws on some really Jaws type things. First of all, that relationship between Nigel Davenport and Michael Murphy. Also, Davenport smashes the radio console so he can't call for help, just like Quint does in Jaws. I was like, this is a year before Jaws. I don't know. Maybe that is a trope in many movies that I just can't think of right now, but I'm going to say it's a connection. So that's number one. Number two, okay, how about this? Probably one of the coolest unconventional explanations of crop circles in any movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is before we had all of the UFO stuff of like the late 70s, early 80s, all the Time Life magazines, Mysteries of the Explained. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they say that crop circles are made by ants being controlled by aliens. Dig that. Of course, the macro cinematography of all of these ants. Like in my notes, I was like, okay, so this is like a Kubrick film that's bred with like a David Attenborough nature movie from the 70s, right? I was like, that's what this kind of feels like, and I'm here for it. And then the last part is the hive mind mentality that James Cameron obviously stole for Aliens. Those are my wins.
Well, I'm with you, especially the macro photography. Because the whole beginning, it felt like you were watching some nature documentary with these ants. But I wanted to know who got in there and painted like the triangle and the little square on the ants' foreheads. Like, I want to know what artists are like, yeah, I got this with a magnifying glass of like, it's got to be real ants. We can't fake this.
Right. Again, that's where it feels very Kubrickian. It's like, we're not going to fake this.
Yeah, we're not faking this.
Go get me a real giant ant. Find one somewhere.
We're gonna have a decomposed body and just speed it up. We're just gonna let it sit.
Right. We're just gonna
take a while, but we got it.
Yeah.
But no, I loved the art direction in it. I loved the look of it. I loved the practicalness of it, that it was all, we're actually going to use ants. We're not going to flub this in any way. So, I mean, those were my biggest wins, because I was locked in a lot of the time, just staring at the screen, just kind of mesmerized.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, this came out in 1974. How I don't even know how it got on my watch list. I think I read about it in some list of movies you need to see. So I'm like, okay, I'll throw this. I'll get back to it eventually. But I was locked in, just kind of like drawn in by the imagery, drawn in by the look of it. And then it tried to break my brain.
Tried to rupture your eardrums with ant screeching.
It tried. And unlike, the previous movie we just talked about, the ending of this one isn't so happy.
No, it isn't so happy. But at the same time, like, I think this is an interesting era of horror to go back to, where humanity literally didn't think that they were going to see the millennia. Like, if you go back and you watch Soylent Green, like, that's supposed to be like 1997, right? Like, they didn't think we were going to make it to 2000. And here we are 25 years into the new millennia. And we're literally thinking, I bet we're not going to see 2050, So I think apocalyptic horror is about to make a big stride in the next few years. I really do.
I'll be all for it.
I feel like every 30, 40 years, you get this generation of, we're screwed, so here's a new batch of horror movies that's going to show us how we're going to die.
Here's the end of the world. Get ready.
I mean, like, you and I are old enough to remember was it the day after the miniseries on TV back in the early 80s about nuclear war? And we're like, oh, we're all dead. Like the lucky ones that live in the middle of Missouri are going to be the ones that are okay, but anyone near a city is doomed.
Us growing up was either we were all going to die or we would be kidnapped by somebody, but our parents just let us do whatever.
Oh, bro. Yeah, I think we grew up watching that Adam Walsh show, that TV movie in the early 80s, and my mom's like, no, you can't go to the mall with your friends, Yeah. And then, this hasn't happened yet, though, but you and I are roughly the same age. What happened to the killer bees, man? I can remember, like, in the late 80s, early 90s, the news had like a killer bee tracker. and be like, okay, the killer bees are in New Mexico and they're going to hit Nevada, California anytime, never became a thing that I was concerned about, but they had me scared. They had us
That's where all
questioning.
the animal movies and everything else come. I'm like, well, if nature doesn't kill us, then the animals might.
Right. Night of the Lepus. Cool. Well, I had a blast with this, man. Like, thank you so much for picking the Sect, because it made me realize how good Cemetery Man and Stage Fright really are. But it's at the same time, it makes me appreciate how influential Fulci is, because it really is a Fulci ripoff.
Yeah.
And then,
100%.
Yeah. And then Phase 4, man, like, you have it on my list. I know it was in my list too, but I never would have gotten to it had I not been looking for it in someone else's. So to me, that's a huge favor of like, now I can scratch that off my list, and dude, it hit me. I'm gonna have to dive back into that one for sure.
Yeah, same. I mean, the Sect was in mine too, but it was one of those like, oh yeah, this movie. Maybe we should watch. We should watch that one.
And I think, just based off what your show is and your channel and your Letterboxd watch list and your review list and what I do on this show, searching for the cult films of the future, the ones of the past, ones that never got their chance. I really appreciate the fact that people now are discovering genres they never dipped their toes into, that they're being a little bit more open and pliant to what they think the entertainment is. Because I think on the mainstream, if you follow the main pulse of cinema consumption, people are like, I like comedies. I like action movies. Who's in it? Who directed it? And that's how they are designating what they're choosing to watch. And I think that you are doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't go a little deeper into what's actually out there. And that's where Letterboxd and Tubi and podcasts like this, I think, are so important to people who want to open their horizons, because it's like, dude, we kind of did the groundwork. We went and dug in the depths of Tubi and the video store, and we found movies, and it's an adventure, right? And it's cheap. Like, go in there, watch a movie for free. Who cares if it's got ads? And you've literally expanded your horizons.
Oh, and then not just Tubi, like a lot of these, I've discovered so many from a lot of the boutique movie, like Vinegar and Severin and the stuff that they throw out going, I've never heard of this movie before. And then I'll go search it up and go, oh, it's on Tubi or it's on this. I'm like, I'm going to check it out now. And I'm like,
is it worth my $50?
Yeah. Is it worth it?
Yeah. I mean, I love you guys out there in the boutique Blu-ray label land, but I'm going to watch it on Tubi before I give you my $50. I'm sorry.
I want to make sure I want it. I mean, I have plenty here next to me that I have blind bought on sales, but I'll get to them eventually.
Yeah, for sure. All right, dude, this is a great conversation. So please take this opportunity and tell people what your show is, where they can find it, if you've got like a certain release schedule so people know your patterns.
Just, you can search out there, Old Man Brad. I'm on all of your podcatchers. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And I post at least something every week, an episode every week, either a quick review or I bring filmmakers on a lot, indie filmmakers, to talk about their movies. I just talked to Lloyd Kaufman and his daughter about their documentary Occupy Can that played at Fantasia. And it was an awesome, quick conversation, but it was awesome to talk to them about that. So I love doing this. I've been doing this 9 years now, and probably the last 2 years, I've never had more fun than I am now of meeting new podcasters, talking to filmmakers, because I love hearing the stories. That's what I love on the show when I bring people on. I love the stories. I want to hear those behind the scenes of how did this get made?
There you go. And like my listeners and viewers, they know that I'm an hour-long program, but let me tell you about Old Man Brad. His shows are like as short as 9 minutes or up to like 40. They're sweet. You get right through them, and there's a lot of content packed into them. So if I'm too long for you, go to this guy, because he's got it in a shorter, condensed version without all of the mumbling and dragging on that I do. So yeah.
But you know, when you have a guest, it'll go longer. When I'm just talking to myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going too long. I'm at 12 minutes.
Yeah, okay, but there's enough people out on YouTube that an hour and 12 minutes is not short enough, you know?
Okay, yep, you got me. But yeah, just look for search for Old Man Brad. You can follow me. I'm most consistent on Instagram and Blue Sky. But,
yeah.
And I'll find me out there.
He's got a link tree, which I love it when my guests do. So I'll have the link tree in the show notes of this episode. So that being said,
right now I'm going through my 50 years of film because I will be turning 50 soon. So I'm counting down one movie every year that I've been alive that were one of my favorites.
It's been a lot of fun because I just did an episode based on that like 2 or 3 episodes ago. And then that's how I actually caught your content. Was when I guess the algorithm sent me your way because I would say, hey, best films of my life. And that's how you popped up. I'm like, okay, cool. What's this guy's? Okay, I like this one. So yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So like I said, please go click the link tree that's in the show notes, subscribe, give him 5 stars, like, review, and do the same for me. Like, rate, review, give me 5 stars, subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave some comments, give me constructive criticism. Nothing hurts my feelings, believe it or not, because I've been doing this long enough and a lot of people call me an idiot that I'm over it. So you just kind of have to be, right?
Oh, you do. I love when I get those because it's just like, okay, cool. Yeah. It's not for you. Thanks for listening to that one.
Thanks for listening. And if you're ever starving for content, need a guest, you know who to reach out to. I'm right here. So, all right, everyone. Thanks to you for watching, listening, and Brad, I'll talk to you later.
Yep. Thank you for having me.